Hey, welcome back for another episode of Career Chronicles. Today, we are still discussing different parts of interviewing, and we're going to talk about question types. All right, so there's three categories that questions usually fall into. It'll either be behavioral, which is like the tell me about a time when you did X, Y, and Z. Situational, which is like tell me what you would do if this happened, or if X, Y, and Z, they'll literally lay out a situation and ask what you would do in it. The third one will be a case type of question, where they literally give you a case and you read through it, give whatever the answer is for it. So those are usually for like consulting, marketing, those type of jobs will usually be, they'll usually throw in a case at some point. The other ones you might get the situational, you definitely have behavioral, right? So we're going to focus on behavioral questions today because they usually take up the bulk of your interview. And these are the questions that usually trip people up because they just aren't really prepared going in to answer some of these questions. And just in general, if a question does trip you up, that's normal. It just depends on how you answer it and how you react to being tripped up. So it happens to the best of us. Don't let it get you in a rut if you do end up messing up on a question while you're interviewing. That means you're human, right? Okay, so questions that you may get or that the interviewer, the different categories within behavioral that you might get for the interviewer to pinpoint different soft skills, okay? So adaptability is one, culture add is another, collaboration / teamwork, leadership, definitely, growth potential, and prioritization type of thing. So I'm gonna just quickly go through each of these, nothing too crazy. But this definitely was within an article on LinkedIn for HR professionals and just something that came out recently. So very much up to date and very important for you to understand and realize. And these are also questions that I've asked people during interviews as well, when I was sitting on that side of the table as a recruiter. So, or hiring person, individual as well. Okay, so adaptability. Adaptability is important because things change all the time, right? Things are happening economically, things are happening socially, things are happening with technology. Technology is changing literally by the minute, by the second, okay? And so as things are changing, the company is going to make certain pivots, or the team might have to make a pivot. And they want to know that they have somebody on their team, that they have people in the company that are going to be willing to adapt and change. There's always a stigma that the older people in the company are like set in their ways and it's hard for them to change, which may or may not be true. Some young people are the same way too, because some people just want stability, right? Everybody doesn't like change. But that is a characteristic that they like to see. They are flexible and adaptable, right? And so maybe you have to give an example of a time where you've had to show flexibility. Maybe a project wasn't going the way that you wanted it to. So what did you do to adapt? What did you do to change, right? Or something blew up in the middle of it, like, and how did you handle it, right? So that is adaptability / flexibility. Culture add. Now this is a newer rendition on culture fit. So they decided to stop saying culture fit because, like I just said, cultures change, or sometimes the cultures may not be the best. And so you don't necessarily want people who fit into a certain box, because then maybe they won't change as things are changing within the company, right? But somebody who's going to add to the company culture and maybe bring different perspectives, or they have the qualities that fit in with the company, but they also bring something new. You know what I mean? Maybe them asking you like a time that you felt energized at work, or what were you doing when you felt productive? because then that can give them an idea of the things that you enjoy doing. And it could fit in culturally or could add on culturally, right? So I don't know, the culture add, culture fit questions are a little like, you may not realize that that's what that is, but you'll be asked something to that at some point, right? Another one, collaboration. Collaboration is huge, right? In the entrepreneurial world, people like to say collaboration over competition, even though some people are really still competing, but whatever. But collaboration, teamwork is very important because obviously you're not on a one-man team. Even if you're being a manager, you're going to be leading a team of people, collaborating. You're might need to collaborate cross-functionally, or go externally with some things. And so they're going to want to see how you operate in a situation. Even with conflict on a team, you might get some questions around like, tell us about a time you had conflict with a team member and how you handled it, or something to that effect of like how you worked with others, stakeholders, keeping them abreast in whatever the situation is, or how you brought them along to make a decision, or like, convinced people or influenced people to go along with whatever decision was that you had to make, right? How did you collaborate with other people? You'll definitely get a question about collaboration, all right? Leadership, you'll definitely get a leadership question as well, because it's not just about the position that you're being hired into now, it's about, can they see you growing in the future, which also ties in with growth potential. A lot of these bleed into each other, right? So leadership, tell us about a time when you had to take lead on a project or something, or any type of leadership type questions, where you needed to influence somebody, or when you led by example type of things. Or if you had to make a tough decision, how did you go about doing that, right? And those are examples of leadership. And you definitely want to make sure that you can answer those. Growth potential, again, like I said, they're not hiring you just for you to turn over the next year. You know that happens. They may not be your plan going in, but hey, but they want to build a pipeline of people. It's expensive to continuously have to hire externally, right? Or if people are turning over, it's expensive to replace somebody. It's about 3 times that person's salary to have to replace them, right? With the whole interview process, with the training and all the other crap that goes into it, it's very expensive to have attrition in a company. So they want you to grow, quote unquote, even though a lot of companies aren't the best at developing their employees or putting managers in place to help that happen. But I digress. So seeing yourself grow within a company, like what would motivate you to move from your current role, or getting feedback and implementing that feedback to better yourself, volunteering for things, different projects, or trying to expand your knowledge around a specific role or a specific project that you may be working on. Those are things that show growth potential, that would make them comfortable, like, okay, yeah, we can see this person staying here. And then the last one is prioritization, right? That kind of goes with attention to detail and all those things. Obviously, you're going to be given multiple projects or things to work on, and being able to prioritize those is very important, because if you have something with a deadline within 2 weeks, but then you have another project that's due in like 2 months, but you're more worried about the one that's due in 2 months than the one that's due in 2 weeks, clearly your priorities are not right. Okay, so they want to ask you questions about that, and how you handle stressful situations, because maybe the deadline's coming up and things aren't going right. How do you handle that? How do you juggle multiple projects at the same time? How do you delegate tasks to get things done? How do you prioritize that, right? I don't know if y'all can hear this fire truck and all the noise in the background. I'm next to a hospital, so all the things are happening at this moment. But yes, so those are the categories that you will be asked questions about, most likely. Okay, if it's not all of those, it'll be some version of them, but definitely leadership, definitely collaboration, definitely adaptability. Prioritization usually is always in there at some point too. And then of course we have our culture add and our growth potential. So again, there are three categories that questions usually fall into, which are behavioral, which are the ones that we just went over. Situational, which they're going to present a situation, a hypothetical situation, and see what you would do in that, or case-based, where they give you a case of something that's going on. You have to read the case, divulge the information from it, utilize that information to make a decision on whatever it is it's asking you to do, right? So that's more of like critical thinking, analysis, in the moment. How can you come up with something? So yeah, if you have any questions about these, if there's questions that you've gotten that have stumped you before, or there's something you feel like I missed, please definitely feel free to comment that down below. If you've had really great experiences, I definitely want to hear about those too. You can help somebody else out in the comments who may be struggling. So yeah, thank you for tuning in for another episode on the Career Chronicles. Again, I'm your girl, Kayla Epps, aka Miss Refine Your Mind, career coach for the masses, right? I'm just joking, but yeah. So I will see you all later, and make sure you subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Wait. I don't know. But